John and Tom stand tall, discussing corruption, answering the call. Osceola's whispers, the truth we unveil. With each podcast episode, we set sail. Unsanctioned voices, we won't be ignored. Digging through lies, we strike a chord. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Politicians trembling, they know we're awake. With facts on our side, we're here to shake. From local elections to making it clear, together we rise, let's spread the fear. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. So tune in each week, don't miss the show. John and Tom will help you know.
You can get some.
Clubbing chick everybody knows. Chicken Ricky struts with a big old sign asking Mr. Boo, when will you be so kind? Hey, Mr. Boo, what's holding you back? Chicken Ricky's here with questions so clear. Why won't you debate Diana, make it sincere? You're dodging the truth, it ain't hard to see. A politician's game, but it's not who you should be. The people are talking, they're starting to cheer. Ricky's not alone, watch the crowd appear. With feathers so bright and a message so bold, he's rallying the truth, so watch the story unfold. Step up and debate, don't let your fear grow. Chicken Ricky's here with questions so clear. Why won't you debate Diana, make it sincere? You're playing with lies, that's the politicking call. But in St. Cloud, we see through it all. So Chicken Ricky's here with questions so clear. Why won't you debate Diana, make it sincere? You're playing with lies, that's what politicking call. But in St. Cloud, we see through it all. Step up and debate, don't let your fear grow. So Chief Garricky's here with courage to fear. Why won't you debate Diana, tell us what's near? The town is awake and they're hungry for change. Mr. Booth, face the truth, don't you find this strange?
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
Yeah, we're taking back the throne. Hear the trumpet, my tone. The origin stand tall, never doing it alone. Mary Jane up in the booth, twisting all the rules. Election law shattered, guess who's playing it full?
Yo, Osceola's getting played, we living in a game. Mary Jane, crooked deals, playing for the fame. 2 cycles of defeat, but none can see her plight. Every vote, every count, she's stealing in the night. So-called royalty, living like a king's dream. Orrington's on the rise, we ain't taking defeat. Brandon blocks our voices, but we'll never hit defeat. 16 years of power, but the people gonna fight. Gonna shine the truth bright, put the darkness to light. Orrington's on the rise. Commissioner Brandon, man, meet the heat of our words. Control the meetings, but your grip's about to burst. Puffing up your pockets, daddy's contract's fat. But the tide's about to change, we coming for that hat. Orrington's on the rise, we ain't taking defeat. Brandon blocks our voices, but we'll never hit defeat. 16 years of power, but the people gonna fight. Gonna shine the truth bright, put the darkness to light. Orrington's on the rise. Orrington's on the Brandon, man, meet the heat of our words. Control the meetings, but your grip's about to burst. Puffing up your pockets, daddy's contract's fat. But the tide's about to change, we coming for that hat. Kristen kissing butts for those liberal dreams. Orrington's on the rise, we ain't taking defeat. Brandon blocks our voices, but we'll never hit defeat. 16 years of power, but the people gonna fight. Gonna shine the truth bright, put the darkness to light. Orrington's on the rise.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Unsanctioned. Again, this time.
Hey, everybody. How are you doing? This is School Board Member John Arguello, my good friend, citizen Tom Lord, and this is another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. What episode are we on, Tom?
We're episode 25, and we opened it exactly the way we meant to open it on Friday, which we actually did. We went 15 minutes where we realized that we were having some issues, and but we're going to keep this show intact. It's going to be exactly the way we meant to do it on Friday. So,
well, hopefully everybody can hear me this time.
Yeah.
I can't hear myself, so...
No, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. This is our big election recap show. So we're going to talk about all the races. We're going to talk about all the outcomes. We're going to talk about what those outcomes mean. We're going to talk about some of the developments. I'm getting text right now. Okay, source here. Okay, so we're going to talk about our voter turnout, right? We were essentially near the bottom, just like we have been at the bottom of the education in Florida for the past who knows how many years. We're now at the bottom of voting for the past several years. So it's a pretty disastrous result. It had now even there's so many different aspects of elections, right? There's voter turnout, right? A supervisor of elections, part of her job, part of her expectation is that she's driving out people to go vote. She's educating people. She's being accessible to people and so on. The other thing is that the elections are fair and free, right? And of course, we have the expectation that they are within the law, right? They're operating within the four corners of the law. And I'm not sure that any of those three things can apply in our situation here in Osceola County, and that's a real shame.
That's right.
So we're going to go through all these things, and we got a couple of other stories throughout the state that we're going to talk about. So first, let's do a quick prayer, and then we're going to get right down to the show. Lord, thank you so much. We are truly appreciative of having just living in this wonderful state, the free state of Florida. We pray that it stays free. We know that there are opposing forces to freedom operating in our state, operating strongly. They are fighting for power, and we are fighting for freedom. And that is a situation that we pray that you get involved in. We know at the end of the day that you are the one in charge. We pray that all the other Americans that are feeling the pressures of bad leadership throughout the state stand up and begin to operate, begin to take part, begin to fulfill their biblically driven civic duties. And for all of this, Lord, we pray in your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, what do we got first, Tom?
All right, let's start off across the state. And just like you said, John, the turnout was terrible. It was absolutely brutal. We hit 22% across the state of Florida. Just horrible. And we know the numbers in Osceola. We'll talk about those in a minute. But yeah, despite it being a hot election season, data from Tuesday's primary reveals the majority of registered Florida voters decided not to cast their ballots in the contest. Final numbers statewide were around 23%. Faye Smith out of Duval County, she's a voter. She said she did not get a chance to vote on Tuesday. We had early voting for days and days. How do you not get a chance? According to Duval County Supervisor of Elections website, the final numbers were 19% voter turnout. So I guess we don't have to feel so bad about our turnout here in Osceola, but the election supervisor there, Jerry Holland, said there were several important races people should have come out to vote for, and I agree 100%. A lot of people think that the decisions in some of these races will not be decided until November. The reality is we had races tonight that are decided, school board races that are over, judicial races, and that's the case, John, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the case. Voter turnout may have been 22%. I think in the past it's been even lower than that in Osceola County. But I'll tell you one thing that is interesting. Osceola County was 64th out of 67 counties in voter registration. You know, the Republican Party has made a big deal out of the fact that we've gained over the past 4 years, we've gained 1 million more Republicans than Democrats, right? Like we've moved to those levels. We were down, I don't remember how many it was, but now we're 1 million registrations above Democrats, Republicans are. And in Osceola County, they didn't do any of that at all. So why is that? Why would we have had such a dismal voter registration in Osceola County? 64 out of 67 is pretty terrible. So and these races have been important, and it has meant a lot. It's going to mean a lot for the next 2 years, 4 years. The school board has been ruined. Osceola County School Board is now ruined. Come November, you're going to have the worst education. You're going to have the worst environment. You're going to have the worst perpetration of violence and bullying and everything against kids, because the people who are there now who will become school board members are people who have not only been proponents of those things happening at the school district, because they're part of the bullying environment, right? Like they are part of the nepotism. They're part of the whole idea of you do it our way or we retaliate and you lose your job and so on. So it has absolutely had terrible, terrible, terrible outcomes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, John. And that's the case, and I think that's part of the problem is that people do not understand how important some of these races are, like the school board races. And we're going to get into those numbers later on in the show when we go into Osceola County. But some of these numbers really don't add up, and I'm asking
they don't make sense.
Please make it make sense, because it doesn't make sense to me. But
does not make sense. What's
yeah,
all?
We'll get to that. But this hotly contested race, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, but Donald Trump suffered a Florida primary loss. That's how they headline this, but that's not really the case. It was one of his endorsements. David Shore was President Trump's endorsement. Tom Leak was he was endorsed by Governor DeSantis, and unfortunately, Shore lost by it was 47-28. With more than 95% of the vote counted, that's what the result was. That was according to Associated Press. In addition to DeSantis, Leak was endorsed by many other powerful figures in Republican Florida politics, including Senator Rick Scott, who also won his primary race on Tuesday. So from what I had heard, and I think it says it here, Shore, formerly the sheriff of St. Johns County, ended the race neck and neck with the third place finisher, former professional wrestler Jerry James. I've never heard of him. Despite being given Trump's complete and total endorsement this month, I had heard, John, and I'm sure you've heard the same thing, that somebody we know very well got involved in this race and was sending negative, nasty mailers against David Shore, Anthony Petticini.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't know Tom Leak. I don't know of Tom Leak. I don't know him well. I don't know his record well. I'm not going to say anything negative about Tom Leak necessarily. I know that the Senate wanted Tom Leak, right? The state Senate wanted Tom Leak, and Shore is a bona fide MAGA Republican. And just like what happened in my race, the Senate does not want MAGA Republicans in the Senate. So the Senate was fighting against those people. Now, Trump gave him his endorsement, right? And Trump may have helped him a little bit, but Trump's not going to be running his campaign. Trump has a presidential campaign, right? So they leave it in his hands. So even with these great endorsements, look, I was endorsed by Byron Donalds. I was endorsed by Corey Mills. I was endorsed by the greatest organizations, the true patriotic organizations, and all the patriotic leadership of the state. But the fact is that the Senate has $32 million with which to campaign against, and that's what they do. They don't just campaign for; they campaign against the ones that they don't want.
Yeah.
So Shore was the victim of a similar situation where they wanted Leak. Why? Because they know they can work with Leak. That's who they want. They want, if not straight up rhinos, they want people that they know are going to toe the line. And I think that they were trying to. DeSantis has taken a ton of losses, right? He's taken one loss after another when it comes to Trump, right? Whenever it's Trump and DeSantis facing off. So this was one where not only DeSantis agreed, but the Senate agreed to. So now Trump was fighting against the state Senate and DeSantis for this one pick. And how important was it to Trump? Trump is leaving Florida to DeSantis. That's the bottom line, right? So we've seen what happened. Trump has left Florida to its own devices. It's not a tier 1 state. It's not a state that they are fighting over. There's enough Trump voters here in Florida that we're going to vote for Trump no matter what. And so he doesn't feel like he needs to be concentrating here in Florida. Now, if Trump thought that this was a battleground state, right, then Trump would be involved in that race. He would have gotten involved in my race. And he would have gotten involved in a lot of different races. And he's going to make sure that Trump supporters are the ones winning these races, and he's filling the state legislature with MAGA people. But he figures he can do that. He still has time to do that. If he wins the White House, that he can still fill the state legislature with MAGA Republicans. And that will happen, right, when Trump wins the White House. But right now, there's a different faction that has control of the state, and they're trying to buy their time. They're trying to make sure that they're preparing for the eventual presidency of Donald Trump as well, so that when the presidency of Trump is over, that they still have control over the state of Florida. That's the battle going on right now. And, and it's a shame that that's how we're running our state, because we could be an even greater state if it wasn't for this infighting between the Republican Party, because the powers in Tallahassee right now, they just are refusing to allow the people to speak for themselves, and they're controlling everything. And I think that creates a lot of resentment. And what happens, right? We all know that politics works like a pendulum. It goes back and forth, and you keep messing with the Republican base, and what eventually the Republican base will rebuff you. And that's what they did with Erica Booth. right? The Republican base was so offended by Booth pretending that she was a Republican, a good Republican, that they um, they regurgitated her.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll see if that happens again this year because, we'll talk about that when we get to the local races. But there's already a Republicans for Tom Keene Facebook page out there. So, but
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
were saying, Governor DeSantis did suffer some losses, and there is pushback against what's happening here in Florida as the results of some of these races. These voters issue a stunning rebuke to DeSantis and developers in Manatee and Sarasota races, and
Yeah.
yeah, the most
So
notable the most notable losers in Tuesday's primary elections in Manatee and Sarasota counties weren't even on the ballot. Governor Ron DeSantis, political consultant Anthony Petticini, and a trio of prominent local developers were not candidates themselves, yet voters delivered them a clear rebuke, with 6 out of 7 candidates they supported facing defeat.
Well,
This,
and
yeah,
here's what's funny. Here's what's funny.
yeah.
Let me real quickly. It's Anthony Pedicini, for the people at home who don't know, is like the grim reaper of Republican careers, right? So he's the bad guy throughout the entire state. He's the hatchet man. He attacks everybody. Even here in Osceola County, he's the guy that was attacking me. All those ads that you got that were attacks on me were sent by Anthony Pedicini. This is Anthony is the guy who's doing just horrendous work throughout the state, making the state lavender. That's what they call. That's what the movement is calling it, right? So he wants rhinos. He's part of the LGBTQ movement, and that's what he's trying to do. Make sure that the party is split along these social lines. Um, Now, the important thing to notice is in this situation, they're saying that they're the losers. Now, why did a guy super powerful? He's a super powerful guy. Why did he lose this race? Because he was dead set on some other races, chiefly Osceola County,
Yeah.
right? So because he was feeling so much pressure to win because they spent $2 million on Erica's race. They spent so much pressure. Now we're reading a story how he lost in that's his backyard,
Yeah.
right? And people in Sarasota, Manatee counties are a little bit better funded, and so
They're more
they
knowledgeable now too
they're more
about
knowledgeable,
it.
and they know, yeah, they know to avoid Anthony Pedicini like the plague or like monkeypox, better spoken. So monkeypox Anthony, he ended up losing in his own backyard, and that's good, great for the people of those counties.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad that people are starting to get knowledge, know about this guy, know his tactics and the things he does, and they're getting turned off by it big time. So
Yeah, Rhinos of Florida, right? There's another
yeah,
Facebook group, Rhinos of Florida, has been really hammering it down, I don't think that they are over there on that part of that neck. I think he's in Hillsborough maybe or something. But
yeah.
the point is, all throughout Florida, you're hearing this name Anthony Pedicini in a terrible way. However you pronounce Pedicini, Peppercorncini, I don't know, whatever. But the fact is, you're hearing his name throughout the state.
Yeah.
And wherever you do, it's like calling out the name Beetlejuice. So it's bad news for your county. If you hear anybody that is supported by Anthony Pedicini should avoid that candidate at all costs because it's no good. Even if you agree with the person who's running and their policy positions, they don't belong to them. That guy, once you see Anthony Pedicini involved in their race, that person is owned by a whole different group, all the dark money that's in Tallahassee, and you should avoid them at all costs because that's what's ruining our state.
Yeah, yeah. That's the truth. That's the truth. All right, John. So one candidate won their race and could make history in the state of Florida. Ashley Brundage. If you don't know who Ashley Brundage is, Ashley Brundage is this individual, and it's a first. It's a transgender.
That is one ugly thing.
She bested or whatever, I don't know, bested fellow LGBTQ plus activist and candidate Nathan Coopers in the race, according to the Tampa Bay Times. Yeah. She received 8,091 votes, or 81.1%, compared to his 18.9%. That is a blowout. I'm astonished by this.
I'm not. If there were two LGBT, the only person that was missing in that race was Anthony Pedicini, right? Maybe I don't know. Maybe some of the dirty lobbyists from this part of town. Who knows? Those are the only people missing in that race, and who
True.
says that they weren't involved, right?
Yeah.
So this is just a disgusting thing that it's hiring people for the sake of their mental illness instead of hiring people that can lead the community to better places.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to question that. You have to ask, what is wrong with this individual in the first place? And what's wrong with the people that voted 81.1%? Just unbelievable.
They may seem well put together, but when somebody's got this kind of identity issue, somebody suffering from mental illness, that there's something wrong. And that something wrong is, can be in anything from some severe mental illness that they're hiding. It can be a demonic possession. God only knows.
Yeah. Well, John, before we hit on to Osceola County, this headline, election websites in Brevard, Lake, and Osceola counties experiencing a glitch during the primary election. And we have this video, and we're going to talk about this video afterward, but here it is.
A glitch in the election system. Several counties across the state had issues posting their results last night after the polls closed. Turns out that the problem was with the company that does business with the state of Florida. Fox 35's Marie Ettinger explains what's being done to make sure something like this doesn't happen coming up in November.
The company that runs those websites says this is just a glitch, not a major or lasting problem, not a hack. Election supervisors say the bigger impact will be on voter confidence. The internal voting count and the information going to the state were not impacted by the VR system's problem, just the data the public was supposed to be able to access as election results came in. Here's how not that big a deal the actual glitch was. When asked about the problem today, Governor DeSantis said,
I wasn't necessarily aware of that.
Election supervisors wound up just publishing the data on a different site instead. In Osceola County, for instance, Supervisor Mary Jane Arrington let people know about the change on social media.
Sometimes that happens, but we want to make sure that for the general election, it's good.
VR Systems blames the glitch on logging that was enabled as a security measure. Website logs are records of every interaction that happens on a particular site. Having it helps with cybersecurity. VR Systems says so many people went on their websites, the data logging backed up the system like traffic on I-4.
One of the big things is we want people to know the whole story, because then their suspicion dies down, and that's the way it should be.
The bigger problem is voters now questioning the system. Remember the last big election cycle? Allegations about problems with mail-in votes, Dominion voting machines, and widespread voter fraud were all proved to be unfounded.
We've obviously done very well in the last couple of elections.
But those questions left some lingering fear.
People want to be sure that our elections are secure, and they are. But when an incident like this occurs, immediately it's blown out of proportion.
If it helps quell your fear.
What an idiot.
What
an idiot.
Their tabulation of the actual election results.
I wanted to say, we talked about this guy before, John. We talked about Alan Hayes. He is the Lake County Supervisor of Elections. He came out and said that anybody that questioned the results of the 2020 election was out of their mind. He said that the elections are completely safe and secure. There shouldn't be any question about the security of our elections. That's that guy that they interviewed, Alan Hayes.
Listen, this guy, I had to keep in mind, I was hoping that I was not on a hot mic while we were watching that video, because there's so many things I wanted to say. So listen, but I'm going to say it anyways. Alan Hayes is an absolute moron. He was a state senator. He's a powerful guy. They know him. He's got friends. He can ruin careers and so on or whatever. But the fact is, he's an absolute moron. He does not appear to have a moral compass at all, or an understanding of service. And that's what the problem with a lot of these elected officials. They just don't understand what service is about. Nobody gives a crap what you think. Nobody cares what Alan Hayes thinks. I don't know. Maybe his mama, maybe his wife, maybe his kids. But me, as John Arguello, regular citizen, I don't give a damn what Alan Hayes thinks about it. What I care about is me being able to review the information, me being able to be confident in the system. I elect you so that I feel good about it. I don't elect you so that you feel good about it. right? And that's the problem that these people have, is that they just think, oh, well, I know it's okay, it's no problem. You know what? If there's citizens that have a problem with the election process, or with the with the performance of, whether it's computer-based systems, whether it's people, whether it's the talent, whether it's whatever it is, then there's a problem, and it's not secure. The moment, because what makes it secure is our security, our sense of security in the election process. And in Osceola County, and here's why this guy is such a moron, because he lives in Lake County. He's talking about things throughout the state as if he knows what's going on in Osceola County. I wouldn't trust Mary Jane Arrington to watch a pet. Okay, not even a fish in a bowl. Okay, that's like a guaranteed way to make sure that your fish ends up in the toilet. So this is a terrible idea to be saying wholesale. Oh, things are fine. Things are fine. No, they're not. Mary Jane Arrington, over the past just a couple of election cycles, violated state statute twice.
Yep.
She lied about what she did. Right? She got caught. She lied on the news story on Channel 2 or Channel 9 or whatever it was. She lied to the entire county, and then she had to go and admit that she was, and she didn't even do it. She didn't make an apology or anything like, "Oh, I'm really sorry that I didn't like." No, she just kept. She's pretending. This is somebody who has, to me, what appears to be like a pathological lying problem, because you just can't trust anything that she says. You can't trust her work. You can't trust her word. You can't trust anything about the election process in Osceola County. And this election cycle proved it. There's so many people that just, and like a lot of people are like, oh, well, John, you don't want to sound like sour grapes. Listen, my race isn't the one that is the biggest indicator of election problems. The other races are the ones that have the real election problem indicators, right? Real markers, red flags all over the place. So, I mean, I don't like this guy. I think he's an absolute idiot. The fact that he talks the way that he does about, it doesn't make anybody feel more secure just because, Alan Hayes, anybody who thinks that election security is a problem. The Orlando Sentinel, they said that that's the reason that they endorsed my opponent in the District 25 race, is because he believed that they were secure. Who trusts the media? Raise your hand if you trust the media. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. Raise your hand if you trust Alan Hayes. I mean, it's just forget it.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, is that you've got a supposed Republican in Alan Hayes. You got a Democrat like Mary Jane Arrington. They're all telling you that the elections are safe, that there's no problems.
What they don't want is like chaos. That's what they're trying to prevent. Chaos for themselves. I like chaos, right? I thrive in chaos. We need more chaos in Florida, because that means cream rises to the top. Right now, what we have is a whole layer of feces at the top, right? And I mean, that's not what we want.
Well, I think both sides have figured out how they can rig an election, and they're all taking advantage of it.
And they do. And why don't they blow it up? Because then people will start pointing at their friends across the aisle, saying, "Oh, what about Mary Jane? Well, Mary Jane's in trouble. Oh, what about Alan Hayes?" So they make these deals. They absolutely make these deals to keep each other in a place here, and they surrender. And they've surrendered Osceola County to certain people here in Osceola County.
Absolutely. All right, John. So before we go on to Osceola County, we have this important word.
People need to know that the elections, when they go to cast their vote, that their elections are free and fair for everybody, that they have the confidence in knowing that when they cast their ballot, that it's going to be a ballot that they know is going to make it to the ballot box. My name is Jim Trouts. I'm running for Osceola County Supervisor of Elections. We're here to make a difference, to make sure that your vote counts all the time, every time.
This message is paid for and approved by Jim Trouts, Republican candidate for Osceola County Supervisor of Elections.
Come on, guys.
All right, John. So first off, do we want to talk about those other stories? Do we have time, or do you want to just go on to the election?
What are they? What stories you got? Let's go through them quick.
All right, so the city of St. Cloud approved another build-to-rent community. This will be the fourth build-to-rent community in the city of St. Cloud. We do have a video. I don't know if we want to watch that. I mean, it's just sad.
No,
that the city
Yeah.
keeps approving these things, saying that this is what the people want. And they're saying that, oh, well, we have all these people coming and they don't have nowhere to live. Yeah, they do.
All right,
Someplace
that's
else in the
terrible.
state.
Yeah, here's the thing. That's not good. These are not good solutions. They're basically selling out the American dream of people who come to St. Cloud for St. Cloud, right?
Yeah.
And St. Cloud is becoming something completely different. St. Cloud, Florida is becoming St. Cloud, Minnesota. And that's not what we want. That's not what anybody wants in Osceola County, but they're turning it into that. And listen, the people who are turning it into that are people that feel safe on their big pieces of land throughout the county, right? Or in other places where they have other pieces of property throughout the country. But the fact is, this is going to encroach every square inch because it's coming from two directions. It's coming from south, where they're putting 400, 500 acres of solar panels, all the way to the north, where they're building these non-home ownership homes that are just built for rent. Let's go to the next story. Let's go quick.
All right. So the school board delayed a vote on the school chaplain.
I'm glad this is
amid the Satanic Temple saying they want to install school counselors. This is crazy, John.
There's only so much that I can say about this because it's coming up at the next school board meeting. But I will say at the last school board meeting, they said, oh, well, members of the community that sent the school board emails were members of the Satanic Temple. That's who sent the email, the Satanic Temple. So the school board majority, they were listening to the Satanic Temple. They did not want to listen to Governor DeSantis. They listened instead to the Satanic Temple. It's an absolute crime. They should be hauled out of that place and tarred and feathered. It's absolutely incredible. That fight is happening again on tomorrow. It's happening at the school board meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll decide whether they're going to do that. And listen, I guarantee you one thing. If you don't show up and speak at this meeting, then you will show up later and speak when the county surrenders the school district to dark forces, because those are the people who are on the school board. You have a school board member who made a pass at an 18-year-old girl. You have a school board member who hates God. You have a school board member who's like pro Black Lives Matter. These are the people. And now you're going to have three new school board members who are even worse than the two idiots that are going to be left on the school board. So you better make your voices heard tomorrow while I'm still there, while there's a Republican there, because you may not get the opportunity later on.
That is sad but true, John. Sad but true. All right, so TOHO Water Authority received nearly $200 million loan for improvements. We do have a video. Do you want to watch that video or no?
Nah.
The only thing I'm going to say about that, in the video, they had Todd Swingle, who's the president of TOHO Water. He came out and said, we're going to do this improvement up here by Sunbridge. We're going to do this improvement over here where Waterland's going in. We're going to do this.
Oh, wait. Are they going to clean the water in downtown? Oh, no.
Not a word was said about St. Cloud or the bad water in St. Cloud. Not a word was said about replacing the pipes in St. Cloud.
Go figure.
So, we did have this story too, the wild claims in your Senate race on the other side of the ticket, which was the Democrat side. Carmen Torres blaming Kristen Arrington for the nasty mailers that were going out, calling her a Republican, calling her this and that.
Yeah. Well, so essentially the same people, which is the money people behind the Senate, right? Yeah. They are the ones that sent the bad mailers, using guys like Anthony Pedicini to send mailers against her saying that she was a Republican, and mailers against me saying that I was a Democrat. And of course, there's a lot of people who are uninformed who may have believed it, right? In the end, their opponents, my opponents, were all involved in that, I'm sure, to some degree, because they wouldn't have sent it. They would have sent it without, the approval, right? They were working together because they didn't know, and this doesn't happen. Don't believe the hype. If anybody says, "Oh, I had no idea. I would not know," that's BS. That's bullcrap. You have control over your campaign. You could easily scoot somebody out of your way and make sure that they don't get involved. So anytime these negative ads are coming out, absolutely positively, somebody could have come and said, please don't do this, and it would not have happened. But that's not what happened. What happened is that they took advantage and manipulated the public to take home these primary victories. And we're going to talk about that race a little bit later.
Yeah, we will. We will. That's coming up. So, plans to increase living rates in Osceola County are being questioned. So we can go through this one real quick. Osceola County commissioners and the city of St. Cloud want to raise the rates on new homes to keep up with the number of people moving into the area. But Channel 9 also learned that mobility fee for 2024 was reduced. If voted for, the mobility fees would be the highest in the state. Mobility fees are a one-time charge assessed to a new development for their impact on the local transportation of the community. And the proposed fees were so high that the Greater Orlando Builders Association hired consultants to assess the study. The increase are rather high on the residential and commercial sides. So Channel 9 wanted to check the numbers. The study found a list of errors, including the 2024 mobility fee. The review has also found that there are significant issues with the analysis data and methodology used to update the mobility fee. These issues are so significant that they appear to result in proposed mobility fees that are overcharging development by more than 50%, does not meet legal and statutory requirements. A spokesperson for the city of St. Cloud said the vote was moved after the new study came out. And it's just, I don't know. The city council expects to vote on it next month. Spokesman from Osceola County would not return a request for information. Not one commissioner returned by email asking questions about what they would do on Monday since the mobility fees are a scheduled vote.
They haven't been told by their masters what they're going to do yet. So how are they going to comment on it? So here's the thing. So these county commissioners don't know what's going on, and they don't know the difference between a mobility fee and a molehill. Though, but here's the problem: is that maybe, just maybe, the mobility fees should be the highest in the state, right? And maybe they should be the highest in the state because that would do two things. Number one, it would slow development. And number two, it would address the fact that we have the worst traffic in the state, right? And mobility fees are intended to help this traffic issue, to address traffic. So that's a possibility. That's an argument that could be made. We already have very high mobility fees. They would be the highest in the state. But the problem is that we have such low quality leadership in Osceola County that you end up getting a result or a proposal that is not in line with statutory guidelines. I mean, we're the only county that messes it up, and it's possible. I would not. Now, these are also dastardly people, so I would not be surprised if they did it on purpose so that they could say, listen, we tried, it got rejected. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to give my uncle that $5 million, waiver on his new ranch or his new property, his new rent-to-own development. I'm sorry. Or I had to give this new politician, this new, whatever, so on and so forth. So sometimes these things happen like that where they are intentionally made poorly so that they fail. And I think that that's a possibility in this situation. I don't know for sure. They could be morons. They have proven to be morons, but they've also been proven to be snakes. And so a snake would have set this up for failure so that the developers get away free.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that I think that they're trying to figure out ways to carve out loopholes for their friends in development. And they just kind of got caught by Channel 9. It doesn't make any sense. The developers are hiring consultants to look at this, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. No, not here, not there. We'll have to wait and see what happens here. But very interesting. We'll be following. All right,
It'll
John.
be too late, though, right? We're gonna pay the consequences of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's start off with the elections. What race is this? Let's see. Kristen Arrington, Alan Grayson.
Okay. This race is an impossibility. Okay. This race is an impossibility. This is Alan Grayson, Carmen Torres, and Kristen Arrington. First of all, if you think that Kristen Arrington has a positive name ID out here in Osceola County, you're wrong. That's one of the reasons that the state Senate said that they didn't want to get involved in my race, although they ended up helping my opponent, was saying because the Arringtons are like royalty in Osceola County and they'll never be deposed. That's what they said.
Yep.
So listen, listen, you have to remember that this district is heavily Hispanic. And the idea that Carmen Torres is going to come in last place or near last place, only 200 votes away from Alan Grayson, is absolutely ridiculous. Alan Grayson, rumors were that Alan Grayson got into the race to help Carmen Torres, because then you'd have two Anglos splitting against a Hispanic. The Hispanic would win. And if you don't believe me that that's how it works, how do you think Marco Lopez won his first race? Right? Two Anglos, one Hispanic, the Hispanic wins. That's the same formula here. That's what they were expecting. This is an indicator of voter fraud of some way, shape, or form, whether it's by vote-in day, mail-in ballots, or voter day, or who knows what they did.
Well, look at this, John. Look at this. Mm-hmm. Kristen Arrington got 5,444 early voting. She got 2,192 vote by mails. All right. Grayson got 849 vote by mails, and Carmen Torres got 881 vote by mail.
All right. So how many did Kristen get?
1,519.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think that they moved past just stuffing ballot boxes.
Yeah.
Because I think that people were watching, right? And I think that they were. I wouldn't trust the machine. I just honestly, I'll tell you that there's no limitations, in my opinion, and in my personal view, is that I would not trust Mary Jane Arrington with my pet fish over a 24-hour period. She'd find a way to drown it. Okay, when it is her daughter-in-law, this is her daughter, this is her family member, and you can say, oh well, she had no. There's a Sheriff Hansel was the one that was on the canvassing board instead of her. Yeah, but she was in that room. She was conversing, looking at ballots, had her hands on ballots. This happened in 2020. I saw her touching ballots while Arrington was on. Both Arringtons were on the ballot. Yeah. So there's no way that I trust this outcome. I think that this is a huge red flag. It's an indicator that they're controlling the election outcome, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. This doesn't make any sense to me at all.
None.
Carmen Torres, dipped down so low beneath Kristen Arrington, and Kristen Arrington basically a blowout. I mean, of the other two. So
there's no way. She's not a liked person. Now she spent $200,000, but you know who else spent $200,000 in the race? Alan Grayson, to come in third place. So obviously $200,000 doesn't matter too much. And if you think that people don't believe that Alan Grayson and Kristen Arrington are that far apart on ideology, we have all the pictures, we have all the receipts of Kristen Arrington. Her number one thing is transgender identity, right? Yep. And this is, come on. This is a person who I fear for their adopted mutt. Okay. At night, I have to say a prayer for their adopted mutt, because God only knows what they're doing to that poor thing at night. But her number one concern is transgender kids, and no way that this is a real outcome. I'll never believe it.
No. And I know, John, because I got a mailer for Alan Grayson where is it? I have it somewhere. Here it is. All right. And on this mailer, right, he's got President Barack Obama. All right. He's got who else? Nancy Pelosi, John Lewis, Joe Biden, all saying good things about Alan Grayson, right? So, it doesn't make sense. This went out to
way.
This didn't just go out to Democrats in district. What district is that? 25. 25. This went out to all of Osceola County. I mean, it made it to my house. My wife is still a registered Democrat, so it just blows my mind that she had that blowout win. It just doesn't make
There's
sense.
No way. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that that's the case. He was a sitting congressman. He's got name ID. Torres has name ID. There's no way that Kristen Arrington blew that. What they're trying to do, in my opinion, and you'll see it throughout all the elections, throughout all of these primary elections, I think that they're trying to let everyone know we are in control. They're making a statement. They were stealing in my opinion, of course, okay? I don't have any proof. If I did, believe me, I would love to see them go to jail. That's where they belong, in my opinion. But they're just telling us. This is not even for the regular people out there who are dumb enough to believe that these might be the regular outcomes. This is a direct communication to us saying we control this. This is ours, and that's what they did.
Absolutely. All right, John. So let's see. District 47. All right. Andrew Zhang. Who else is there? Anthony Nieves. We have the CCCP guy. We have the socialist. And who is the other one? Maria Reveles. And she wins.
Yeah. So here you see two. And listen, this is not about just. I'm not a big
very
believer.
Close. It's very close.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a believer. This is a normal outcome. They allowed this to happen naturally. So this is what a race looks like. Okay, it doesn't even matter how good or how bad these candidates are. It's always closer than you would expect. You don't see blowouts in elections. You don't see that. It's very rare that you see blowouts in elections, right? Unless you have like a tranny village and then some tranny candidate like we saw earlier in the show, right? If you have some transgender who's running in some transgender neighborhood, yeah, they're gonna win, right? Yeah. But not like it's not like this, okay? Now look, I'll give you another example. Oh, we'll talk about that one a little bit later. But I just want to say here, whenever you have two of the same and one that's different, the one that's different always wins almost, right? Yeah. And so you have two men, one woman. The woman almost always wins, especially in a Democrat primary. All the women are going to vote for her, and she's also Hispanic. So then you're going to have Hispanics voting for her, right? And it's still tight. It's still close. So again, this is a great indicator. If this is how the people were voting, then how in the world did the Kristen Arrington race turn out the way that it did? Okay,
well,
so
I want to point out something else too, John. You look at the vote by mail numbers in this race. 572 for Zhang, 470 for Nieves, and 529 for Maria Reveles. Now, these vote by mail numbers are much smaller than a lot of the other races. And this is a St. Cloud. This seat is St. Cloud BVL. So you're having a lot of the same people voting for the same people. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, these are all Democrats. Yeah. This is a Democrat primary. These are all Democrats voting there, and see. Now, I will say this for that race. Now, basically, so Reveles is going to face off with Paula Stark. This is going to be a tough race for Paula Stark. It's not like it was going to be last time. Now, they might have the money advantage. They might have a lot of different advantages, but the fact is that that's going to be a tough race for them.
Yeah, yeah. All right, John. So, Jennifer Soto, Kelvin Soto. Do we want to get into this one much, or you want to skip over it?
Well, I'm not surprised by this outcome. It was close, right? Wasn't there three? Is there three in this?
No, just two, them. Right?
Yeah. So she fought hard. It looked like, I know that when it opened up, she was winning. It had 1,600. They probably allowed this to happen naturally. Or they didn't realize how close it was. And so maybe they finagled it at the end. And the reason I say that is because this is an important job. It's that's the people that hold the county accountable financially. They're the auditors, and they have a tremendous amount of power, and they were not going to allow Jennifer Soto to win that seat. Yeah. So it's possible that Jennifer Soto is going to. I mean, who knows? You never know.
Yeah.
But it's to me, it surprises me that it was as close as it was.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So the sheriff's race, John.
This is a shocker.
Yeah.
This is a big shocker. So
I'm not so shocked by this race, John. And I'm going to tell you why. I was telling a lot of people this. I saw a lot of support for Wiley Black in St. Cloud. All right. Throughout St. Cloud, I saw a lot of support for him. Where I didn't see support for him was really anywhere else.
Yeah. And, so Wiley Black has 3827, right? You have Luis Fernandez has 1,100 and what, 30?
Yep.
About. You have Russ Gibson has what? What number does he have?
3109. 3,109.
3109. You have Marco Lopez who's got what?
6,336.
And who's the last little person there?
Amaryllis Rivera with 2,763.
Okay. So look, this is super important. Okay. I want everybody to pay attention closely to this situation. Marcos Lopez was an incumbent. He got 6,336 votes. Marco Lopez is campaigning 24/7. From the day that he was initially elected to the day, he's always been campaigning, okay?
Yeah.
He's not an unpopular guy at all. Some people don't like him, but some people really love him. Some people have no opinion. Some people don't care about the sheriff. The incumbent normally wins this race. But I'm going to point something out. So you have two Hispanics, okay? So you have Amaryllis, and you have Tony Fernandez, right? Aside from Marco Lopez, I mean.
Yes.
That is 3,800 votes, okay? That's the same number of votes that Wiley Black got. Now, you have two white guys. You have Russ Gibson, who got 2,700, and you have Wiley Black, who got 3,800, okay? So this is exactly why Arrington's race is incredible. You have 6,300 people that voted for the Hispanic guy.
Yeah.
Okay. The vast majority of which, because these are all Democrats, the vast majority of those 6,300 are Hispanic Democrats who voted for Marco Lopez, right? They're Hispanics for the most part. So you have 6,300. So where did the 6,300 Hispanics, the people that voted for Marco Lopez, let's say that it's not completely, let's say it's not 6,300, but there's 6,300 there. Let's say that 5,000 of them are Hispanics that voted for no other reason that he's Hispanic, right? And then you have all the other ones here. The Amaryllis, the Hispanics that voted for Amaryllis. Let's say that half of those are only voting for her because she's Hispanic. And Tony Fernandez, 1,000 people voted for him because he's Hispanic. That's like 5,000, that's 7,000 votes. How did they disappear when it came to Arrington's race? All those Hispanic voters disappeared when it came to Arrington's race.
Yeah.
How is that possible? It's not possible. But let's move on to the next one. So that's an incredible outcome.
Make it make sense, John.
It'll never make sense. It'll never make sense because there's no way that it's not manufactured. You know, like if you see, it's like looking at a, you know, have you ever seen those, like those Japanese farms that make square watermelons?
Yeah.
Right? Have you ever seen those?
Yeah.
They make those square watermelons, right? How do they make it a square watermelon? It's not natural. No. They put it in the box, right? And it grows in a box so that it comes out square. Then they peel the box off. Okay, well, that's the same stuff here. There's absolutely no way. There's no way that these are natural numbers. Let's move on to a different one.
All right, so this one,
Brandon and Debbie,
make it make sense because look at these numbers. 62% of the vote for Brandon Arrington. I just don't see it. Vote by mails, 579 for Arrington, 401 for Debbie Rambis. Early voting, 1,579 for Arrington. For Debbie, it's 817. Election day, the numbers are under 500 apiece. And he comes away with 62% of the vote versus Debbie Rambis's 37, almost 38%.
Okay. There's absolutely, look, I mean, make that larger again, please.
Yeah.
So you have election day, 421, scroll down to the other one there, to 357. Look at the small difference there, you know, 70 votes, right? So 10% of the votes. But the difference between them is much more than that at the end. Early voting, that's where he took his advantage. I don't know, man. I just don't know. Voting mail, what was the voting mail by ballot for Debbie? 579, and what was the Debbie's?
350,
400?
401,
yeah.
And then 579.
Yeah, I don't see, I mean, now, this is a little bit more feasible to get this outcome. I thought it was going to be a lot closer than this. And at the same time, I'm also surprised it was this close, right? He's an incumbent with 16 years. He had more than $100,000. He uses taxpayer money to campaign a ton. He puts his picture all over campaign materials and all over county materials and spreads it out. He gives away free trees to buy votes. You know, I mean, this guy is like
and dogs and cats. Don't forget the dogs and cats.
Yeah, and he gives you free cat and dogs, right? I mean, it's BS. So, but he is an incumbent going one-on-one. It's very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, 16-year incumbent. We just put him to 20 years on the public dime. And this guy
What
has
a loser.
done
A
nothing
failed
for
actor.
Osceola County. Nothing for Osceola County except ruin Osceola County, and the voters put him back in office. It just makes me sick. Or did they? Or did they put him back in office? I mean,
yeah, I think so because he didn't also campaign. I mean, he campaigns only as a public functionary,
no.
and Debbie was out there fighting hard, campaigning hard. The thing is that she may not have gotten in early enough. If she had gotten in very early, maybe it would have made more difference. But the base, I don't understand the base of support for him. I don't believe that many people really support. If you did a poll right now, how many people like Arrington? You wouldn't get a high number. And if you gave him any, I don't care which Arrington you like. Do you like the three letters ARR? People would say no in Osceola County. So the idea that they're going to be blowing out elections, there's no way.
No.
There's no way. In a corrupt system like this, you can't help it but to expect the worst and to feel like the worst happened.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. CD9.
Okay, again. Okay, so here you go. What happens? You have two of one of the other. How does it work? Right? This is the same way. So same thing that happened here. You have two Hispanics, one white guy. The white guy's going to win. Okay, so it happens. It happens. People can complain about it. They can say, oh, it's not true. But it happens. It's in races all over throughout. Go look at pull up a random county's electoral results, and you'll see that this happens everywhere. Yeah. So this happened here. It just didn't happen. It didn't happen for Carmen Torres, and that's a very strange outcome. That's what makes me feel that they stole these elections somehow. Yeah. But Jose Castillo, this is John Quinones. I'm surprised Jose Castillo came in last place. John Quinones is a lukewarm pasta noodle who doesn't really campaign hard, doesn't do anything hard, speaks without conviction. He's part of the establishment, but he wasn't the one that was chosen by the establishment to run. So, in the end, the establishment, the Uniparty, they want Darren Soto. Yeah. Why? Because they want Darren Soto on the eastern part of Orange County where they have agricultural concerns that they believe Darren Soto works well on. And, of course, with the federal protection that you get from Darren Soto, there's a lot of power there. So when you need money for Neo City because you've stole hundreds of millions of dollars from the public, he can replenish some of it, that kind of stuff. So everybody wanted those guys, the bad people want Tom Shalafo to win too. Now, Tom Shalafo is a great candidate. He's a good guy. He's a solid patriot. He is a Republican for sure. There's nothing bad about him. I think that people have had concerns about his age a little bit, but he's a healthy guy. I hope that he wins.
Yeah, he is.
But the chances that he beats Darren Soto are very small.
Yeah. Just to talk about this race real quick, just for a moment, John. John Quinones did send out mailers, with President Trump on them. He sent out about 2 or 3 of them.
At the last minute.
Yeah. Tom Shalafo was working hard the entire time. I mean, he was working hard.
He was campaigning.
He was attending every meeting that he could go to, any public event that he could go to, mailers, texts. Jose, I didn't get one mailer from Jose. So, and I'm not saying that mailers make the difference, but
campaigning in general makes a difference. The harder you campaign, the more likely you are to win. Now, here, they split it 3 ways. What are you going to do? They, of course, it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody's surprised by this result.
No, not at all. All right, John, your race.
Oh, so my race, my goodness. Okay, so I think again, so for a couple of things. Number one, this is not the biggest indicator of some kind of cheating. It feels like I've been cheated, but if I got cheated by anybody, I got cheated by the state Senate, who the state Senate wanted somebody who's going to obey, but at the end of the day, Jose's not going to win this race. He's not going to win the general. It's going to be Mary Jane Arrington who wins, and they want Mary Jane Arrington, and they've made deals for Mary Jane Arrington, so they're going to get Mary Jane Arrington, right? Because that's how they spend their money. Say again? Kristen Arrington. Yeah, whatever. They're all the same. So they're, Kristen is going to win this race, and there's no chance. Now, here's the thing. Of course, I feel like I've been cheated, right? Because Jose didn't even go out and talk. Like, he spoke to people he felt comfortable on, but not one single commercial, not one video, nothing of Jose speaking in English to anybody because he has a problem communicating in English, right? But I'll tell you this. He actually goes out. There was a video where he put out where he's talking, and they didn't show you can't hear what he's saying. They put on music over him instead. Wow. So they did a voiceover. So if your candidate, and here's why I say this, if your candidate can't get out there and excite people and make people understand why they would vote for him and understand why they need to be involved in your race, then they're not going to be able to beat somebody who's got the money advantage. Now, I know there are two reasons to vote for Jose. One, he was Hispanic, and two, he was rich. Well, he's not as rich as the multiple Osceola oligarchy party people who want uniparty people who want Arrington to continue and get more powerful so that they can make more money. Yeah. Right. So it doesn't matter how much money you have. You may be worth $10 million. It makes no difference because they're worth hundreds of millions together.
John, I wanted to point out something real quick. I'm looking at this, and the vote by mail numbers in this race are really high, especially for Jose. You have 2,346 vote by mails versus your 1,451. Mm-hmm. Other than that was early voting was very high. Election day, very similar.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing, though. With the vote by mail was before they did hit pieces, right? Yeah. There were no hit pieces sent for early voting for vote by mail. So you got to wonder why 3,000 votes. Where is he going to get 3,000 votes from? Where's he going to get 3,000 votes from? How would that have happened? Nobody had ever heard of him. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody heard of him. Nobody knows what he looks like until he started putting signs out. So, I mean, I don't know. It's definitely suspicious. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's not the most blatant one. And do I trust these results? Absolutely not.
And now, I think that Jose is going to experience a lot of what you experience going forward now that he's up against Kristen Arrington.
Well, that's something else entirely, right? Yeah, I think that they're probably gonna attack him, right? They're not gonna leave anything to chance. But who knows if Jose made an arrangement with them that he knows he's gonna lose, so he's just gonna, build name ID, but he's not going to campaign hard. That's what happened at the city, right? At the city, he just kind of rolled over and played dead, and then the other guy walked into the seat, right? So that may be a situation that happens here now, or he's going to get those brutal attacks, right? And then he's going to have to look at Kristen Arrington, and she's going to be like, "Oh man, I can't believe you're attacking me." Well, and she's going to be like, "Oh, it's not me. Yeah. It's not me. I would never attack you."
That's what she said about the attacks on Carmen Torres. That she had.
That's what she said about Carmen Torres. That she had nothing to do with it exactly, except for the winning. Right? That's what you have to do with it. So that's BS. But yeah, he stands very little chance in that race, and who knows? Maybe Trump comes down and endorses him and whatever. But at the end of the day, he's not somebody that excites people. He's not somebody that can communicate a vision. He's not somebody that inspires. And at the end of the day, for me, I want to make this very important because I had a lot of people say, "Why didn't you attack him? Why didn't you attack him? Why didn't you say these things about him? Why don't you go this?" At the end of the day, it's more important for me to protect my family name and my honor than it is to win this seat. At the end of the day, if I have to choose between them, there's no question. I don't hesitate. It's for me. Now, why do I attack? When I do attack people, I attack it from my own mouth. I don't hide behind dark money. I don't use anybody like Anthony Pedicini. I had a lot of PACs that came to me and said, "Listen, we want you to see you win. We'd like to help you. Here's what we'll do. We'll go and talk to all of his ex-employees. We'll go and do this. We'll go all do this. We'll do this. This is what we found in our background research. We've done all this stuff. We'll be happy to get involved in your race and your part." And I said, "You know what? Actually, no, maybe I was overconfident, but at the same time, I would have said no regardless. I would have said, no, I'm not going to do that because at the end of the day, I'd rather win with honor and integrity than just win by being the same guy that is just like every other politician up there, So he didn't, obviously that's not his thing. And I think that that's going to come back to bite him too, because at the end of the day, the people that voted for John Arguello are John Arguello people. They're people who care about this country. They're people who fight for this country. They're people who know what's going on with politics. Those are 6,000 informed people. And the people who voted for Jose is a combination of people who are deceived by bad mailers, are confused by what a good candidate looks like, and are easily manipulated by bad politics. So that it's hard to get those people to not fall for the same BS that they fell for to vote for Jose. And when it comes down to the general election, voting for Kristen Arrington.
Yeah. All right, John. So District 35.
This one really gets to me.
Yeah.
This one really gets to me. So coincidentally, okay, so we have some of these, right? We're going to talk about some of this later, right?
What's
Tom?
that?
You see this?
Oh, the papers. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have that.
Okay. So we are running out of time too, right?
Yeah, we are.
So anyways, I'm going to say this really quick. This is a race. So her campaign sent me a cease and desist letter. And here's the cease and desist letter right here.
Wow.
From Moore Hill and Westmoreland. And they're saying demand to immediately cease and desist, demand for retraction, demand for preservation of evidence. I'm thinking about it. But I want to tell the public what they're saying. They're saying that things are false. That Miss Booth wrote on social media, Nikki Haley 2024. I never said that she said that. I said that it was on her social media handle. That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
Social media, that she was never Trumper. Now listen to this. This is what I thought was hilarious. They said that Joe Biden, a.k.a. Brandon, stated Erica is one of my strongest supporters. We both hate Trump. We both love selling out to the corrupt establishment. Now, that was on this mailer. Here's the mailer I want to show. Right? That's Brandon eating an ice cream cone. Right? calling her a lying dog-faced pony show. And then here's the quote. Right, Erica is one of my strongest supporters, et cetera, et cetera. Does anybody believe that that's actually the case as opposed to satire? No, that's just satire. Right, it's a joke based on her performance. Here's what is true: is that practically almost 99% of the time that Erica Booth voted with the Democrats. Right, so they want me to retract those statements. We'll see. We're going to see. I think what they really want is to put pressure to get me to stop and whatever, and we're going to retraction containing language that we approve. So I don't know. Here's my initial feelings is that I'm going to send them a letter telling them F you. It's just a matter of how exactly I'm going to word that F you letter to them. So I might send a letter in advance to Ricky Bobby telling him F you, and to everybody else telling him to F you. I also got one from a couple of other people. I'm probably going to file a lawsuit against Anthony Pedicini as well. And, just go around. We're just going to shake the tree a little bit around. But here's the thing. Here's what I would love, okay? In the middle of this, in the middle of an election, okay? In the middle of an election, they're going to send me this. They want me not to basically get involved and ruin her general election.
Yeah.
But imagine if this went to trial or something like that. In the middle of her election, and I have her on a stand, and John Arguello is now cross-examining Erica Booth. Can you imagine that situation? Can you imagine going through her votes one by one on the stand? Did you vote for with the Democrats here? Yes. Did you vote for 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 Democrats? Over and over. Like, what was she? She was on there for 5 minutes. So 5 minutes worth of votes where she voted with the Democrats. Would be pretty crazy. So I don't know.
99% of the time.
Yeah, 99. It was 98.9% the last somebody counted. I rounded it up to 99. But here's what I'm going to do. Maybe I countersue. Maybe I send her a letter, a cease and desist letter, and maybe I put her on notification that I'm going to sue her for what she said to me when she voted for Heather Cahoon as chair. Right. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of stuff going on. But that race, Laura McAdam, I felt so bad. We fought so hard in that race. She really deserved it. I know that you were working on her campaign. Laura is a 500 times better candidate. She's a 500 times better American. She's a 500 times better patriot. You never have to worry about Erica Booth putting never Trump. Laura McAdams worrying about putting never Trump on her X profile, so she's 100% authentic, and she really deserved that win. But I mean, when you have the party, this is the party makes mistakes, and they get behind and they listen to these corrupt bastards that are down here in Osceola County running the show, and then that's what happens, and then the people of Osceola County get stuck with it. Get stuck with a piece of trash.
The Republican House campaign committee paid entirely for Erica Booth's campaign. They were funding the mailers. They were doing everything for her. Everything. I don't think she lifted a finger. I saw maybe one Erica Booth sign throughout Osceola County. And I heard there wasn't many in Orange. So it's really surprising to me, the outcome of that race. Just blows my mind. All right, so
well, here's one thing. One thing really quick. So that you know what they attribute that to? Name ID, right? But name ID didn't work in my case, which is pretty crazy. And name ID did not work in Carmen Torres's case necessarily, right? Because Alan Grayson had the most name ID, and it didn't work in a lot of these races where you have these crazy outcomes.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: you don't got to be an expert. If I were the governor, I would literally look at all these races and be like, man, there's just something stinks. Something stinks in these elections. It's a Democrat supervisor of elections who should be taken out. She should have been removed from office a long time ago.
Absolutely.
This is the time. Listen, because of her absolutely atrocious supervising of elections, remove her.
Yeah.
Remove her.
But you got Cord Bird coming and doing videos with her. I mean,
instead, I don't know, but from what I understand, that's a bird that is in bed with all these other idiots that we got here, the ones that want to be governor and commissioner of agriculture and so on. And those are the pink cowboy hat guys. The guys that wear pink cowboy boots to secrets. I don't know.
All right. Do we want to get into this one much? It's Christian De La Torre, Michael Cruz, 60-40 for Cruz. He won.
I mean, this is a surprising outcome as well. I mean, I think they're both good guys. They're both very good men.
Yeah.
We were supporting Christian because Christian had this endorsement of all the Republican organizations, and I'm not sure exactly what they're. I didn't, because I wasn't intimately involved in what Michael was doing, so I don't know exactly what the outcome was. Can you pull that up again?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you this. I know that Michael Cruz was campaigning very hard for a while.
Yeah,
he didn't go to every meeting that because he never came to FRA. But I mean, he was out there campaigning. I know that he was campaigning quite a bit.
So election day, he had 150 advantage. Vote by mail. So early voting, he had 400. He had, what was that? It's a 300 advantage.
606 to 995.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then vote by mail, what was it? 357 to 498. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Tough outcome for Christian. But Michael,
good guy though. Great guy with a great future.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's see. County Commission District 5. Ricky Booth, 60-40, Diana Liebnitzky.
Okay, so this is the power of the beast. And the beast, I'm not talking about Ricky's teeth or anything. I'm talking about Ricky's incumbency. So the issue here is that Diana Liebnitzky got in at the very last minute.
Yeah.
Right? She got in literally on the closing day, last day of qualifications when she got in. That I don't think that was enough time for her to campaign unless she had just a ton of money, right? And if she had a ton of money that she was throwing at this race, maybe she could have done more. Maybe she could have done better. Because she got in at the last minute. Now, there's also a good reason for her to get in at the last minute. And that reason is that if she had gotten in earlier, then they would have put in another candidate. They would have put in some other candidate to go in and split the vote.
Yeah, you'd have some ghost.
You'd have some ghost candidate, exactly, because they're all a bunch of shady pricks. So that's what would have happened.
And
so
I think that if she had gotten in a little bit earlier, a lot more could have been done to help that.
Yeah,
that
for sure. But in order to comply with election law, you can't campaign in advance of campaigning, right? So maybe what she should have done is done some kind of committee, like an election investigatory committee or something like that, a preparation committee, and then campaign through that before she got in for something else. She did not campaign, even though she was in that state house race. She did not run, right? She was not campaigning, so she should have been campaigning for that state house race really hard, just with name ID, I guess, right? Like spreading that name ID, it would have helped her better. I mean, I get the approach, and it was, it was a good try, a solid effort. For sure, Diana Lipnitsky would have been a much better county commissioner than, an ESE student from one of our schools.
Absolutely. And word is
no offense. No, listen, clear. No offense to the ESE students. Actually, that is offensive to the ESE students because they're twice as smart and work twice as hard as he does.
Yeah. And word is Chicken Ricky is not going away. He'll still be around. So
he should.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So you versus Mark Cross for state committeeman.
So this one is an indicator of some craziness. Now,
Yes.
Okay, so how is it? I got fewer votes in this race than I got in the other race, right?
Yep.
Which makes sense. But for Mark Cross to get 9,000 votes, come on. Does anybody believe that? The guy at the last Republican function, he couldn't stand up to deliver the presentations of the things. Even the people there would be like, no, this is a made-up result. There's no way that this is actually true. If he got 9,000 results, he would be able to win some Republican Party votes, right? Like he would be able to win some races. But the fact is, he's only winning the races that the corrupt people already have. So how is that? I mean, if you get 95, he got more votes than who? How many did Jose Martinez get?
Let's see. How far back did I go on that one? I think it was.
This is how ridiculous this is. That's not it. This is how ridiculous it is. He got more He got more votes in his race. He got as many as about 14,000 in both, I think is what I remember seeing. But
Yeah.
So there were almost as many votes in that race as there was in the state Senate. State Senate is the fourth race down. This is the last one. So, and you got 14,000. So people skip the county. How many in that county commission? It's total BS. And the idea that they're going to vote for a Mark Cross, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This is
look at these vote by mail numbers, John. 2,521 for Mark Cross versus
he didn't even send anything out by then.
For you. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't even send anything out by then. I mean, it's BS. There's no reason for anybody to. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. This is a huge red flag race here. And if anybody believed this is, and this is why I ran against Mark to begin with, because this is the type of stuff that he's willing to do. He sold out. Mark used to be a great guy, but he sold out to the establishment. He's in the pocket of the Ricky Booths and the Arringtons. He works with Julius Melendez, to orchestrate some of the stuff. Like I believe that he's the one with Julius Melendez who orchestrated Angel Coba.
Well,
Angel Coba.
I'll tell you this, John. It's amazing to me the numbers he pulled in for that race. I mean, for state committeeman, his numbers were higher than some of these other more important races, which blows my mind.
Yeah, he got more than Thomas Chalifo did, I think, practically.
Yeah.
I mean, pull up Thomas Chalifo's. See how many votes that Thomas Chalifo got.
No, that's not that one. It's not that one. So Brandon Arrington only got 2,579 votes. All right, to compare. All right, Chalifo got 7,300.
He got more votes. He got more votes than the congressional candidate. Come on. So you're saying that people skipped over the congressional race and went to where's Mark on this? Come on. No. Come on. That's a cheating election. Come on. No. These are red flags. You got to look. The numbers don't lie, right? The numbers don't lie. So
it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make
any sense. It does not make any sense. It does not make any sense.
All right. So let's see. Garcia, Graniella, and Melendez.
Okay, so here's what doesn't make sense about these school board races, all three of them. The winning person got 55%. That's BS. That's BS. So let me give you, in 2020, Julius Melendez ran, right? And I'm not a proponent of Julius. He made a pass at a teenage girl, some girl that was 18 years old. He's not somebody that belongs on a school board. I'm glad that he came in last. But the fact is that he was an incumbent. And in the last election cycle that he ran, to 2020, he got 48% of the vote with three people, three Hispanics, okay? Three Hispanics on that ballot. He got 48% of the vote, beating out two other people that were unknown. This time, he comes in last place with 20-something percent. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. Now, they were hitting him with some attack ads that were pretty ugly about the situation. Yeah. But how many did they send? I only heard of one.
They sent a text and they sent a mailer.
Yeah, see, so that's not enough, man, to have that impact. That's not enough. To me, they just cheated. They made it very clear, that they were in charge. They were sending him the same message that they sent me, right? And then somebody called me and they were like, "Hey, look, Julius just wrote about in his going away text or message," and he was like,
you
texted it. I just wish I didn't get with somebody so vile. Dude, accept responsibility. You made a pass at an 18-year-old girl and they put it on a mailer and they sent it all over the place. You might have not been convicted of a crime, okay? But nonetheless, you made a pass at an 18-year-old girl and then he admitted that. So, I mean, come on. Come on. You can't be hitting on the girls that are the same age as kids that are graduating from our schools.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by the outcome of this race, John. Diana, a really good candidate, but she took time off to have the baby and she was out for a little bit. There was a lot of silence at that time, and then she came back. Okay, Julius, I am surprised that he came in dead last, only because, like you said, he was an incumbent.
Recognition.
He did do a lot of work while he was a school board member, despite, everything else. And he had that name recognition and dead last. And I think that was a message, just like you said, to him, we're in charge. We're done with you. Goodbye. Yeah.
This is what kind of idiot he is. So Julius Melendez, we started out as allies on that school board. If he had stayed allies, right now we would have majority of the school board. But because he got jealous because they were offering me all these bribes and whatever, right? I think that he went to try to get the same thing. When I was rejecting them, he was like, why is nobody giving me what they're offering? Right? Why is nobody offering me a job that I don't have to go to? Why is nobody doing that for me? Well, probably because you're not worth it, because you know that they can have you, right? They know they can have you. All they got to do is come and give you half of a sandwich that they pick off the ground, and you'll sell your soul for that. So, I mean, that's pure nonsense. Pure nonsense.
A job I don't have to go to. Oh my God, it's true though. It's true. All right, so let's see. School Board District 5.
Yeah. So this was a competitive race, man. This really was a competitive race.
Yeah.
So you basically
and if you look at it, Paula Bronson won. I mean, overall, she beat Ramsey only by a couple of votes. So this is going to go to November, and we do have a chance to put a Republican on the school board. So,
you mean one that actually acts like one?
Yes.
So, okay, so here's the funny thing is that this is Dylan Reinsel and Brian Bennett, the third and fourth place finishers, they both endorsed Paula Bronson in this race.
Yeah.
Right, like right away, right? Like right away. And this is the problem is that you have now, if what does this say? If Dylan Reinsel, right, and Brian Bennett endorsed Paula Bronson, and then the school union endorsed Paula Bronson right afterwards, right? And then she wins, or Scott Ramsey wins, what does that tell you?
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen. She's going to win this in the general election. She's going to win. And I think that they're just going to come to her the way that they did with me. And they're going to try to intimidate her. They're going to try to buy her. whatever. And I don't know that they want to play along because they've been treated pretty poorly by the establishment because they wanted somebody who they wanted essentially what amounts to a scarecrow in Scott Ramsey, you know.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
a scarecrow, which is what Robert Bass was,
Yeah.
which is what, Erica Booth was on the school board, right? They were essentially scarecrows,
Yeah. One after another.
Yeah,
All
one after
right.
another.
So, do we want to get into this one? This was a big win here.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So this was a four-way race. There's my wife right there, Nicole Wagner de Arguello, and she fought hard. She walked 1,500 houses. So this is another thing that doesn't make any sense, right? Because we were walking houses. We walked a ton of houses, but anyway, she walked 1,500 houses in the city. She worked her butt off. She campaigned very hard. She came in second place. She got 1,143. The other guy got 1,600. This guy, Wade and Rubin, they fought hard too. They had respectable campaigns. It kind of got a little bit chaotic at the end of the day. I think that Wade and Rubin were having a lot of conflict, but in the end, they were working really hard in this race. These city of Kissimmee races have really turned into highly competitive, highly fought over races.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Nicole and Carlos Alvarez will be going to the general.
And that's awesome. Vote for Nicole. Vote for Nicole. All right. So, Kissimmee mayor.
Yeah. This is the last one, right?
I think it is.
Yeah. Okay. So the Olgas, this was a crazy race. Okay. Number one, you got two Olgas. You have Jackie Espinoza, Olga Carino, which is the third there with 1,220 votes, was fighting in a basically in a backroom brawl with Jackie Espinoza, and it ended up that John Cortez won his recount. There was a recount. You can see that the second place finisher came. They were so close, and that person won. So John Cortez won.
I think it was Carino that asked for the recount, right?
I don't know, but
it ended up at
close.
1224 to 1220. Somebody asked for the recount. They did the recount. John Cortez came out on top.
Yeah. Well, when it's less than 0.5%, I think it's automatic recount.
Oh, okay.
But but regardless, this is a super close race. We'll see what Olga Castaño and Carino. I doubt that Carino is going to go in with Jackie, right? Because they had like a bloodlust, all-out brawl, right? So you have Olga Castaño, and you have Olga Carino, which you're going to get in. I imagine Carino is going to start campaigning for John Cortez because of the bad blood there.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a competitive race. I think that Jackie she's campaigned 3 election cycles in a row. She's kind of primed to win. She's put in a lot of money. It's basically been a 12-year campaign, right? So we'll see what happens there.
All right. So we did have, let's see. Do we want to talk about St. Cloud?
Oh, yeah. This is a crazy outcome for me. This is a surprising outcome. How many did Adam Wagner get? 1,607.
Yeah.
So, okay. So where do you think those Adam Wagner votes are going to go?
I think they're probably. I don't know. That's a toss-up to me. This whole race is a toss-up to me. I don't know.
We've been saying that from the beginning, right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking that we know. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. This is very strange to me because I know there's certain forces behind one candidate, certain forces behind another candidate. We'll see how this plays out, but very interesting. Yeah. And it got a little bit nasty. We're going to see if it gets any nastier going into November.
I think it's going to get nasty because these guys both have already demonstrated that they're willing to fight hard for it. And, at least one of them I know makes threats. So when you threaten people, you got to be prepared to deal with the outcome and the response, right? I mean, you can't go around threatening people and expect for nothing to happen, right?
No.
So that's an issue there. And yeah, it's crazy to see who's behind what and so on. So I mean, I don't know. That's a crazy race.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and I think there's one more. Let's see. Yeah, that's City Council seat 2 in St. Cloud. Um, this one shocks me a little bit, John, and I'll tell you why. Jennifer Paul is clearly the establishment candidate. She is a hardcore liberal Democrat. She came in second place. Phil Lantry, who ran in the special election in 2021, had name recognition from that race and from his work throughout the community. He probably, out of all three, the best qualified guy. I mean, if you wanted, you said the perfect city council member who knows planning, knows zoning, knows all these things. That was Phil Lantry.
I
He
mean,
came
he's an
in third.
architect.
Yeah, yeah,
He's an architect. He's a very intelligent guy. He is solid experience, solid ideas. The fact that he came in last speaks very poorly of the voters of St. Cloud. To be honest with you, I mean,
yeah.
what are they thinking now? The Jennifer Paul voters, they are voting just for the name Paul, right?
Yeah.
Because they have name ID. The Paul. She is, in my opinion, she was put in by the establishment to split votes from Lantry. Because Lantry may be NPA now, but I think he was a registered Democrat at some point.
He was,
And I
yeah.
think, yeah, so he leans to the left. And I think that they put Jennifer Paul in to take away any of the Democrat votes.
Yeah. But Mandy Schaefer winning that doesn't surprise me.
No, she had a ton of support.
Yeah, and she worked very, very hard. Her campaign was very solid. She was always working. So that did not surprise me. It surprised me the numbers 39 to 32 between her and Jennifer Paul. I did not see Jennifer Paul working as hard. I did not see as many signs for Jennifer Paul. It's shocking to me that
So if we follow that same if we follow the same logic that we have the whole night, right?
Yeah.
You have two women, right? That would split the female vote, right? And then you have Jennifer Paul, who's African American, and you have Phil Lantry. I mean, this is a strange outcome too. To be honest, it almost seems like Phil Lantry would have gotten Jennifer Paul's votes, right?
Yeah.
That's what should have happened. That's what should have happened. If you were just to go by what common logic says. So the fact that Phil Lantry came in last place, I don't know. I think that they were. I think that the people who are backing some of these people were scared that Phil Lantry would pull off an upset in a general election. Where you have to talk about what your plan for the city is.
God forbid they allow a guy who knows what he's doing into that city council.
Can't do that.
No,
can't do that.
Have that.
Can't do
have
that.
So that's it for our review of the election results, John. We do have those letters that came to your home. Let's see. Here's the first one, and this is from St. Cloud Police Department, right? Or state attorney.
Yep. Yeah. So this is the state attorney of, I think it was Volusia or Brevard or wherever. This is where that case where Mike Horner went, and they found there's a part in there where it says that essentially what Mike Horner, you're allowed to, if somebody's filming you, according to Phil Archer, this moron over here, that's right. I always say that, like people think that lawyers are smart, not this one. That if somebody is filming you with their camera, that it is reasonable for them to come and grab the phone out of your hand. That's what they're saying, according to him. Of course, that's not the case. We're going to end up going to court, and Mike Horner's going to lose because there's no jury in their right mind who's going to say that it's okay to grab somebody else's phone out of your hand. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next. Let's go to the next thing because we want to wrap this up.
So here's this other letter that came to your home, and notice pursuant to Florida statutes. And let's see, dear Mr. Arguello, please be on notice that the firm of Burr and Foreman LLP represents Michael Horner to the extent required under Florida law as a condition precedent to any litigation. This letter shall serve as notice pursuant to this Florida statute by your statements and your videos made and posted on social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and the podcast Unsanctioned, you have repeatedly published false and defamatory statements against Mr. Horner. In addition, you made statements on your podcast. These defamatory statements are described in more detail below, and it goes into the details of what they say happened on the show. On or about May 17th, 2024, you published the following false statement about Mr. Horner on social media. I am not a 13-year-old boy. You are not going to have your way with me.
Is that false? Wait, let's talk for a minute about each one. Is that false? It's true. I am not a 13-year-old boy. I don't know if anybody's realized that, but I am not a 13-year-old boy, and Mike Horner was not going to have his way with me. So I don't understand how that can be defamatory. Both of those are factual statements.
All right. So, on or about May 17, 2024, you published the following false statements about Mr. Horner on your podcast. I was invited by God to go to Fat Boy's barbecue.
Well, so certainly I was not invited by God to that. I was invited to that event. And so I don't understand what his issue. And it's not about Mike Horner. What does that have to do with Mike Horner?
No, I don't get that one either. That Mr. Horner is supposed of likening 13-year-old boys.
Suspected, right?
Yeah, I guess that's what it's
suspected
of likening. Yeah,
suspected of likening 13-year-old. Okay, so is he not? Listen, I'd like to hear the audience. I'd like to know what you guys think. Is there anybody who suspects Mike of liking 13-year-old boys? That's what the rumor has been, according to from that whorehouse, right? That he got caught at or on the list of, right? I mean, that was my impression. That wasn't like me making it up out of thin air. That was the impression. Was we saw there was that newspaper, the Florida Gay something or other, right? What was it? The South Florida Gay News. That's what it was. The South Florida Gay News. They had an article. In that article, it talked about it was actually a gay brothel, right? And then other sources said that, it might have been young people. And so people under the age. But what difference? Let me ask somebody. I mean, just the audience. What difference does it make whether it's a 13-year-old boy or it's an enslaved woman that you're supporting the illegal sex trade? You're buying, right, from a slave master, a pimp, the rights to have sex with a woman, right? I mean, what difference does it make? Is one better than the other? Either way, your reputation is contained in that act, right? It's not contained in what I say about it. He's already ruined his own reputation. What can I say that's going to make Mike Horner more of a good person? Does it matter? Is a 13-year-old boy, is pedophilia worse than enslaving people and forcing them to have sex? I mean, I don't understand. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm going to respond to those letters as well, but I don't want to keep reading through these.
Yeah, there's more, but we don't need to go through it.
Yeah, it's all the same stuff over and over, right? Yeah. But, so we get these letters. I'd like to hear your guys' view. What do you guys think? What do you think my response should be? What is your view of Mike Horner? Is there anybody out there who thinks that Mike Horner, that they think less of Mike Horner today because of I said those things or not? I mean, I don't know. I'd like to hear what anybody's view is. If you think that having sex with women who are enslaved through sex trafficking and paying for that service at a whorehouse in Orange County is okay and doesn't mean anything, and it wasn't until John Arguello said something about this guy that you thought poorly of him, then let me know, and I'll consider that in my response to them.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan. All right, John.
Yeah.
All right, that's the end of the show, John. We went a little long, an hour and 45 minutes, but
yeah. Now we got to get on that Republican Liberty. Oh, let me say something really quick. All right, so here we go. Number one, the elections are still coming. Get involved in these elections. Let's get Jim Trout to win his race. That's an important one. Let's fight for these seats. If you live inside the city of Kissimmee, please vote for Nicole. And number three, come to the party, to the Republican Party, come to the FRA, come to the RLC, become members of these groups right now. If you want to know how, reach out to me. Let me know. I will get you in contact. Go and sign up at that party, because here's what's going to happen. In December, we have elections for who's going to chair that Republican Party. And we're either going to have a party that is full of rhinos and led by rhinos, okay, or we're going to have a party that is just and it's going to fight for truly the American family and conservatism. It's your job to get involved with the party. It's your job to get involved in the party. Reach out to me. I will hook you up. I'll get your paper signed up. You go there, you become a member, and you vote. They're going to try to play games, and that's why we need numbers. We need people to show up and become a member, and then you all will experience what it's like to be dealing with a corrupt party, and then hopefully that party will be pressured to change. But until that happens, then we're always going to have elections that are questionable. We're always going to be losing elections. We're always going to have a feckless party. We're going to have a feckless government, and we're going to have a feckless country at some point. So please get involved. Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate it. On behalf of me, School Board Member John Arguello, my great friend, Citizen Tom Lord, thank you for joining us. Like and share the show. What else do you got, Tom?
I was just going to say, John, at the party level, we need to age down a little bit. We need to have some younger people in there. We need some new ideas, some new voices. So, please take part.
People who will fight. How about that? I'll take that. Yeah. Somebody who's willing to fight for our country the way that Trump told us to.
Absolutely. America Show is either going to be Wednesday or Thursday this week. It's ready to go, and we will see you then.
Should be a good one.